Chapter 26. On to Sinai. From that moment, the Amalekites put such fury into their fighting that the Israelites lost more ground than they had gained. Exodus chapter 17, verse 11. "I can see what's happening," Moses dismayedly muttered, "but I'm too tired to stand up here or hold out this rod any longer." Aaron and Hur quickly rolled up a bench-height boulder behind Moses, who sank to a sitting posture. Each of them then seized a sagging arm and jerked him upward, thus helped Moses continue his supplication while grasping the shepherd's rod in an upright position. The three men carried on like this until sundown. Exodus chapter 17, verse 2. By that time, matters had changed back greatly in favor of the Israelites. The enemy was completely routed with little loss or injuries to the hastily mustered army. God reminded Moses to record the day's events in the book he was writing about the Israelites, and to instruct Joshua to also write of the happenings. Moses later had an altar built to honor God for his protection. On into the mountains! After hovering for several weeks in the same place, the guiding cloud one morning began to move. The Israelites packed up, got their animals together, and were ready to move when the cloud floated to the southeast. The mountains were even higher in that direction. There were those who complained at heading into such rugged terrain. To Moses it was like returning home, because he had spent many peaceful years in that region tending flocks of sheep. After 2 or 3 days of travel, the cloud came to a halt right over the highest peak. That was rocky Mount Sinai, a mountain of more than 7,000 feet in height. Even the complainers had to admit that the numerous water springs, the level areas for pitching tents, and nearby patches of grass for grazing left little to be unhappy about. Moses advised the people that it would be wise to set up their camps for a long stay, inasmuch as he had more than just a feeling that they were at this particular place for more than just resting for 2 or 3 nights. Exodus chapter 19, verses 1 and 2. Not long after the Israelites were settled in their new location, Moses received a divine request to come up to Mount Sinai alone to receive instructions directly from the Creator. It wasn't an easy hike up the rock-strewn shoulders, but Moses was spry for his 80 years of age. God wouldn't have asked him to do something impossible. He had to go up the mountain only far enough to be removed from the people. God speaks. Suddenly, a clear booming voice came from somewhere above Mount Sinai. "Moses, you will deliver a message to the Israelites in the valley below." The voice spoke out. "Remind them that I, the Creator of all, have freed them from the Egyptians and have brought them safely here. Tell them that if they obey my laws, they will become a special people I will treasure above others. They shall become a kingdom of priests and a holy nation." Trembling with fear and awe, Moses remained prostrate for a time where he had fallen when he had first heard the voice. When he felt that nothing more was going to be said, he stood up and hurried back down the mountain. Immediately, he called for the elders to repeat God's words to them and to tell them to tell their people. The amazed elders complied. The excited people solemnly agreed to obey whatever God asks of them. Later, after learning of their unanimous agreement to obey God, Moses went back up to report what had taken place. Of course, God was already aware of it, but he had further instructions for the people he wanted to convey through Moses, who was told that God would come down unusually close to the people in 3 days' time, and that they should be clean physically at the time. Even their clothes should be washed and unsoiled. Barricades would have to be set up to prevent people or their animals from wandering too far up the mountain. Otherwise, they would be subject to death because of coming too near God's holy presence on sacred ground. After 3 days had passed, the more than 2 million people on the valley floor, out from and below the mountain, nervously wondered what would happen. The first thing unusual was that thick, dark clouds formed to obscure all but the base slopes of Mount Sinai. The clouds weren't merely masses of water vapor. There was much smoke mixed in, causing growing alarm to the onlookers. Flashes of lightning followed by stunning peals of thunder caused every man, woman, and child to tremble. The trembling was greater at the startlingly clear blast of what sounded like a giant trumpet announcing that God was descending to Mount Sinai. As the thunder and lightning subsided, the clouds lifted, exposing most of the mountain to searching gazes of millions of eyes. Abruptly, the peak broke out into towering flames. The top of the mountain appeared to be consumed in a giant holocaust of fire. Pillars of lighted smoke spiraled skyward. The higher elevations seemed about to explode in an awesome burst of eye-paining light. People shielded their faces. Many of them fell to the ground, which was beginning to quiver from a rumbling earth tremor. The quake loosened huge boulders that crashed down into the ravines. Clouds of dust and smoke floated up from the ground as tons of smaller rock cascaded down to blanket the mountain's base. Like the others, Moses trembled at the display of divine power, though he had some awareness that it was far from what God was capable of doing, such as causing giant planets to collide or fusing whole suns in celestial cataclysms penetrating billions of miles of space. The ground stopped shaking, and the blasting trumpet sound faded to a silence that was more terrible than the noise. Because it caused people to be more fearfully expectant of what would happen next, suddenly a thunderous voice cracked down from above the mountain, echoing terrifyingly across the valley. It spoke in Hebrew, the mother tongue of the Israelites, though its booming quality might have purposely made it difficult to be understood by anyone except Moses. "Come up to the mountain, Moses," the voice thundered. "Come alone. Do not allow anyone to follow you."